Last time we talked about some of the most fundamental functional groups of chemistry. In this video, we'll continue the discussion by once again going through the groups systematically. First, we'll go through the carbonyl compounds. A carbonyl is defined as a carbon double bonded to an oxygen atom. The carbon is allowed to bond with two different groups, and thus allow for a massive range of different functionality. In fact, the carbonyl containing functional groups are one of the most diverse groups in existence. The simplest carbonyl compound in terms of structure is carbon monoxide, but for the concept of carbon monoxide is a little bit complicated and we'll not be talking about it in this video. An easier version is the second simplest carbonyl compound called formaldehyde, where the two side groups are both hydrogens. This compound is used in biological specimen preservation and is incredibly carcinogenic. If one of these hydrogens were substituted with carbon, it is called an aldehyde. One of the most common aldehyde is benzaldehyde, which is a food additive with the E number 2028604. Has a lovely almond aroma. If both hydrogens were substituted by carbons, it is instead called a ketone. In a synthetic laboratory, propanone or acetone is the most used solvent in cleaning laboratory glassware. It is also an active ingredient in nail polish remover. Next, let's swap a carbon for an oxygen. If a carbonyl is substituted with one OH group, it is called a carboxylic acid. The household vinegar that you put on your fish and chips is a 5% solution of ethanoic acid in water. If the carboxylic acid hydrogen is substituted with a carbon, it is called an ester. Polyethylene terephthalate, or PET plastic, is one of the most used plastic in the world, and the primary functional group within is ester. What happens when we swap the carbon with a nitrogen instead? When a carbonyl is substituted with an NH2 group, it is called an amide. Amide is one of the most common bonds in pharmaceuticals and is the functionality that gives bulletproof vests its structural toughness. Unlike the carboxylic acid version, if one or both hydrogens of an amide was substituted, it doesn't get a fancy name. Instead, it is called an N-substituted amide or NN disubstituted amide if both hydrogens were replaced. Finally, let's swap a carbon for a halogen atom. This class of compounds are called the acid halides. They're highly reactive and should always be handled with great care. The most common laboratory version are the acid chlorides because they are the most stable out of the acid halides. This about wraps up the list of carbonyl functional groups. There are once again a lot of functional groups that I haven't gone through, and I'll cover them in future videos. I hope this had been useful, and I will see you next time.